mystical Ariel here to shake the matrix, expand our minds, and make us all think. How are you guys doing this grand, beautiful morning anyway? Hopefully, you guys have been doing good and doing some of the practices we've been teaching on. And if you're watching this morning, then grand risings. If you're watching this afternoon, good afternoon. If you're watching it the evening, good evening. And I am for if you are new, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. And even if you're not new, please hit the like and everything, and make sure you make comments whenever you can. So, hey Rebecca, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Good to have you. Good to have you. So, yesterday, we talked about, looking through the mirrored image, and dealing with the outside world and all of those things, the truth of our I amness. If we're not, I am not. And today, we're going to talk about the unmasking, you know, those masks, the place that comes to our lives when all of a sudden those masks just can't put them on anymore. So we're going to talk about that, go into depths about that. I got my dog. I don't know if you guys can hear him in the background, but hello, London. What are you doing? Are you cleaning your feet? Are you licking and cleaning your feet? You handsome boy. All right. Well, let's get started. It's a beautiful day where I'm at. The sun has been shining and it was an amazing sunrise. And just to update you, we are planning a retreat, a healing trauma retreat. And we are going to bring some healers together in a community. And we're going to have a place where people can come camp. And we're actually going to do a suggested donation, but don't let that deter you. We'd love it if that can happen, but if not, we don't want people to not come because they can't afford it. There's ways to do barter trade, but there's also ways to just kind of help maybe along with the event. And, there's different ways to make things work out, and I'm all about that. So don't be afraid when you see, a suggested donation. Don't make that think that, oh no. But if you do have it, please, it helps us continue to do these things and to continue to move forward with what we're going to be doing, and not just teaching this. The other thing I'm going to start doing as well is making opportunities for us to have a group that we can go on and do live interactive video chat where you are on video and I am on video. We can have like little sessions and we'll make them reasonable too, and there'll be time and place for you guys to come. I'm starting to work through that all, getting it together and placing it in order. But, I was teaching 3 of the same thing, but now I narrowed it down to just doing the 2 YouTube and TikTok right now. So that's where you guys can come and get the live teachings. Also, if you want to go into more deeper, don't forget about getting my books, the Awaken series. They are at Amazon and Kindle. And I think I'm going to work on getting them on audio as well. So good morning. That would be awesome. All right. Great. So there comes a threshold in the consciousness, that a moment when basically when the elaborate theater, this theater of the conditioning of the self, we basically can no longer hold it. We can't sustain it anymore. And then you arrive at this place that it's not through tragedy either, but through a quiet, instant knowing. Just slowly hits. The masks you have worn for decades, just carefully constructed to navigate social heresies and meet the external, the game everyone's been playing around you, you just no longer can put them on. And they start to become transparent. And what once seemed like normal social interaction now feels like a prison constructed from other people's expectations. And it can feel overwhelming at times. But this is not depression. This is actually a part of the process of awakening. There's a German philosopher, Martin, hey, I don't know if I can say his last name properly, but Heidegger, I think, spoke about the It's called the thrownness, the recognition that we are thrown into a world where pre-existing meanings and roles and expectations and ideas and all of them were already pre-laid out. And most of humanity basically lives in what they call a desmas. And it's a mode of existence basically that where we are just say we should be, and we wear masks and they have expectations with them, and we play this game and they have designed it, and an awakening begins when the inauthenticity basically of the existence becomes unbearable. You just can't take it anymore. Hedger called the move towards authenticity the the becoming one's own most, basically self. And this is not a discovery of some hidden essence, but it's rather a stripping away of the layers that we have, of everything that was not truly you, that was just placed on you. The society life and the programming placed on you from the moment you took your first breath. No wonder we cry as babies being born. Oh God, get me out of here. The ancient agnostics, they understood this awakening as an amnesia, like forgetting, and then the awakening was a remembering, is what they would remember, and they taught that we are divine sparks of imprisoned in this matter, basically caught in a realm of archeons, and that basically those of us that keep us enslaved speak like to this illusion that's the system, right? It's been keeping us in this prison system for so long. But the moment when the sleeper awakens to the reality of what's been going on, to their true nature, and they see in the I am in the mirror, in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, if you bring forth what within you, what you have will save you. So it's within. You bring forth what is within you, and that is what's going to set you free. That's what's going to save you. So it's not some external thing. Do you see that? It's the internal. And the performance, basically, the masks and the performance and the false self, basically, these are what kill the authentic being within. And then what you have is yourself being squashed and hidden under a bunch of masks. Mm. How's it going? Fearless, good to see you on the chat. The thing is, like, neuroscience, it even confirms what we mystics have known for millennia, forever. And our identity is not fixed. It's not solid. The brain's neural pathways basically are malleable, constantly shaped by the repeated thoughts, behaviors, and social conditioning. The masks you wore were literally carved into the neurology through repetition. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Think about it. Things are repeated in schools, things are repeated at home, things are repeated in churches, things are repeated out in society. I mean, you can see it everywhere you go. I see it all the time. We're just herded through this existence like cattle all the time. So what your experience is a fundamental rewiring. That's what's going on right now. And when you begin to shed these conditions and patterns, your brain enters this state of basically heightened neuroplasticity. And researchers have even shown that meditation and psychedelics experiences give profound life transitions. And they show that the default mode network, the brain self, is is the system that can undergo dramatic reorganizations. We reorganize our brains all the time. Thank you. Now, this is why transformation doesn't happen all at once. It takes time. Neural pathways that took decades to form. I mean, what we got going on took a while to come into play, right? And they're not just unmade overnight. I've had people come up to me and go, like, so have you just walked through it all now? And I'm like, no, man, there's a continuous, like, it's just knowing. Once you come to the existence of knowing, when those things come up, you push into them. You don't push them down, you don't pull away, you go right into it. not afraid of it. So the shedding, it comes quicker. The shedding occurs piece by piece, layer by layer. There's so many layers to us. For so many decades, we've had this programming being done. So we got to give it time. But as these new pathways form, the old ones, the atrophy of the from the tissues, is the disuse. It falls away. Your body rebels it. It's like, no more. I'm not going to do this. Dr. Stephen Borges reveals that our nervous system stores patterns of social engagement and what we're doing in the existence of our social existence. And they store these patterns basically, and they threat responses and authenticity. And when you lived behind masks, your automatic nervous system was in basically a chronic state of subtle activation. Always monitoring, always performing, always adjusting. No wonder so many of us get sick. The health is caused by what we're carrying, you know? And I watched it. The more I dug into the depths of my being, the more my health would respond to what I was doing for it to get into alignment. So as you awaken your body, you literally become allergic to the inauthenticity and you can't fucking do it anymore. And what's felt normal now triggers this psychological response. This is not pathology. This is your organism rejecting what is false. Just basically, just as it would be a toxin, your body rejects poison, then it does the same thing with these things. Makes me angry the more I notice all the lies of propaganda I'm told by love and light community not to be angry, but I can't deny how I feel. No, you can't deny how you feel. Okay, let me tell you something. Not this is not all about love and unicorns, okay? It's fucking hard shit. You're gods and goddesses, you're creators, and you locked yourself in a fucking prison and you created everything around you. And then as you get angry at the lies that are being fed to you, then you're going to go, what the fuck did I do this to myself for? Because you're going to get to the place where you keep pulling back further and further and into creation mode. And then you recognize, I put myself in this. And now you got no one to be angry at but yourself for believing, for accepting, for receiving, for acknowledging, for feeding the fuels, for continuing the creation that was false. But yeah, we got stages. It's like a mourning in a sense. The stages of when we lose someone in the face of this existence here. There's stages of that. It takes time. And just don't stop there because sometimes we just fucking stop there. Like consider the caterpillar entering chrysalis. Inside the chamber, the caterpillar does not simply sprout wings. Rather, it undergoes histolysis, which is a near complete dissolution. It comes like goo. I don't know about you, but my awakenings ripped me apart. The caterpillar's body releases enzymes that literally digest most of its own tissues, reducing it to a primordial soup. Nothing. And within this soup, however, are special cells. The imaginal discs, clusters of cells that have been present since the caterpillar was born but remained dormant. And these cells carry the blueprint from the butterfly. As the old form dissolves, these imaginary cells activate, organize, and construct an entire new being, creation. You are the chrysalis. The old identity fits old clothes because it is literally dissolving. That's why they say don't put new wine into old wineskin because it'll literally shred the leather to pieces. The imaginal discs of your true self present all along but dormant beneath the masks and are now constructing something new for you. You know, roots. Can you think about an oak tree and roots finally hitting deep water? This is sacred geometry of growth. A tree's roots mirrors its canopy basically, and as above, so below. And when a root system has been drawing from shallow sources, external validation, approval, others' expectations, performance, the tree remains basically stunned, always thirsty, never satisfied, always striving, always performing, trying to be seen, looking for that acceptance. But see, when taproot finally breaks through to the aquifer, when you discover the wellspring of being that's been within each and every one of us, and within yourself, you see the tree has no longer needs to perform, and it begins to draw from the deep, and its growth becomes effortlessly. And nature aligns with the essential nature. You know, in mycology, we find this teaching: the mushroom you see is merely the fruiting body. You know, and the actual organism is the mycelium. It's a vast underground network, and you are discovering that true being is not the visible performance, the mushroom, but the vast interconnected consciousness beneath. Mycelium shows all this shows even in nature. From an evolutionary perspective, humans are wired for social belongings for most of our history. Exile from the tribe meant death. Your nervous system still carries this ancient coding: approval equals survival. But this survival mechanism becomes corrupted in modern society. You learn to contort yourself, basically, to betray your truth, to fragment your being, and all to receive drops of approval, drops of acceptance from others, little tiny bits. And this created what psychologists call an external locus of evaluation. Your worth, determined by others, judgments, that's not real worth. Your Gnostics called this servitude to the archeons, a slave. Those external authorities who claim to determine your value, those Stoic philosophers, Epictetus taught, if you seek approval from others, you can never be free. Why do we want to be free? Why wouldn't we want to be free? Why would we want to keep seeking approval from others? I mean, when you quit the hunger for approval, something miraculous really happens and occurs. Trust me. You discover that worth is an ontological, not conditional, and worth is not earned but bestowed, and it is instinctive, and it is extense in itself because you are that consciousness. What acceptance does this consciousness need? Consider a tree. Does it need approval to grow? Does a river require validation to flow? Does a star seek permission to shine? See, the entire universe operates from principle of inherent worthiness. Everything that exists has the right to exist simply by virtue of existence. Because you matter. You're that unique puzzle piece, a part of the ultimate puzzle of cosmos. And you've reconnected this with primordial truth. And you are worth it because you are this. what the mystics call grace. You're that symbol. The unearned, unconditioned recognition of your inherent value, not because of what you do, but just because of what you are. Consciousness expressing of the universe, becoming aware of itself. That's beautiful. Uh, our modern culture today, I mean, I tell you, it has created a peculiar pathology. The compulsion to be special, to be a star, to be rich, to be famous. And we're told that all of this matters, that when we reach this, we'll finally be seen and heard. We must stand out. We must achieve things, distinguish ourselves from the masses. This creates a different kind of prison, the prison of perpetual striving for significance when you were already significant. You know, Eckhart Tolle identifies this as ego. Great dude, by the way. I actually fucking got to sit and have coffee with him. Didn't even know it was him. We sat there for a while. He actually came to me and asked me for a cup of coffee, and he asked me if I would have a seat and talk with him because he could just see this light all over me and seen that I seen and understood things. And we had the greatest talk. It was out in Florida at this little crystals type shop thing. I walked in there after a bone marrow stem cell transplant with my assistant Sam, and we were getting some crystals and stuff for my camper. And he come up to me and says, "Yo, would you do me the honors of sitting down and having a chat with me?" Eckhart Tolle. And he told me his name was Eckhart, and I didn't even pay attention. I just paid attention to what we were talking about. I was just really enjoying our conversation. Didn't pay attention to that he was this author and all that stuff. But we had a great time, great talk. It was months later. I looked at the bag that he wrote something on the back of that I just tossed in my cupboard and looked at it and had his signature and everything on it. And I went, holy shit, that was him. And then I looked the dude up to see what his picture looked like. It was him. So, Eckhart, that was a good time. Hope you're doing well if you come across this. Anyways, this is what he says. He says, um, so the spiritual identifies basically with this as ego, basically, right? That the prison perpetual striving is ego. And the false self that requires constant reinforcement through comparison, achievement, and recognition, and see me. And Buddhism calls this dana, the thirst that can never be satisfied, basically. You're going to be dehydrated for the rest of your life because it's based on an illusion, and an illusion of separation, and one of that self that needs approval in his existence, and you're never going to feel that, no matter what you do around your life. You know, when you quit the need to be special, authentic, uniqueness naturally emerges. And this is true. I've been witnessing it in my own existence. It's true because uniqueness is not fabricated, it is inherited. Your DNA is unlike any that have ever existed. Your perspective is genuinely unpredictable in its history of the cosmos. And you don't need to try to be unique. You already are simply by being. You know, the Tao sage, Lao Tzu, taught that the way to do is to be. And when you cease performing, uniqueness simply exists. Authentically, your true nature, which has always been utterly unique, shines through without effort. Without effort. And this is what quantum physics reveals, that the core of the teachings is every particle is both part of a unified field and simultaneously unrepeatable. In the specific expression, you are both universal and utterly particular, not through effort, but through existence. I mean, come on, that's fucking cool. Perhaps the most exhausting performance is the pretense of perpetual happiness. Some of these light and love communities do. I'm like, guys, it's not all light and unicorns for fuck's sakes. Modern culture demands constant positivity as if negativity emotions were somehow failures of character. This creates a spiritual bypassing, a leaping over difficult truths in favor of false light. The psychologist Carl Jung warned against this. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, showing it, calling it out. The Gnostics similarly taught that liberation comes from denying the material reality, but from fully knowing it. So it's not about denying things and just pretending to be all happy and positive. Now you gotta admit the truth. See, when you wore the mask, happiness were denying half of the human experience. You were rejecting grief, anger, fear, sadness, all the emotions that are not Instagrammable or Twitter worthy or Facebook worthy, but are nonetheless essential to be whole. How do we turn that up puddle of goo if we don't go and lean into it? I mean, what you have discovered is the difference between happiness, a temporary emotion state dependent on circumstances, and bliss, an underlying state of being that can hold all emotions. You see, the Sanskrit word ananda often translates, you're welcome, by the way, as bliss, but it is more accurately means the joy of being. It is not about feeling happy all the time. It is about being real all the time. In this realness, you can feel grief and still be at peace. You can feel anger and still be centered. You can feel fear and still be whole. That's truth. This is what philosophers Spinoza called the ecocentral in se episo, resting in oneself. Not the forced positivity of denial, but the profound peace of acceptance. Acceptance of your being. And that's vital because when you come to peace with your original design and your being, then you don't have a need to perform. And I get it. This can feel both freeing and lonely at the same time. I know, I get it. This experience, we go through every awakening soul encounters. When we remove the masks, we basically become incompatible with the masks that we had and the masks that we even have with relationships, which means a lot of times our relationships shift and change. People who knew you as your persona don't recognize your essence anymore. See, the Christian mystics called this and I call it the same thing, the dark night of the soul, a necessary passage through isolation. The Buddha left the palace. Jesus went to the desert. I went to the desert. Every spiritual tradition recognizes this. There is this loneliness, the solitude thing that must be traveled. But understand this. What this loneliness actually is, it is not isolation from others. It is the end of isolation. It's the end of isolation from yourself. For decades, you were lonely in the deep sense. You felt rejected, not accepted, unworthy. But now you are alone, but no longer lonely. Because you have finally met Your best friend, you, the one who knows you so well, you become dust in the wind. See, authenticity carries this light of truth, and they can feel it when you walk in the room. This is not metaphorical, it is energetically verifiable. When a human being stops fragmenting their energy across multiple false selves and integrates into wholeness, they become radiant and they shine. And you see it. You can't ignore it, you can't deny it. See, quantum biology is the beginning of understanding that this consciousness may function at a quantum level through phenomena like coherence. When quantum states synchronize and amplify, a fragmented self is like scattered light. An authentic self is a laser beam, coherent, focused like a light tower. And that's what they say, be a light into the darkness, because now you are that light. And this is why awakening beings throughout history have been described as luminous, not because of supernatural powers, but because ununified consciousness naturally radiates. People sense this truth in you. Even if they don't understand it, they can feel it. It disturbs those that are still sleeping. It causes a shaking within them. And attracts those beginning to awaken, those wanting to see. You observe that at first. People won't know what to do with your authenticity. They expected your mask, they expected the old self, but this is because human relationships often operate through unconscious contracts. That's right. You put expectations and things on people, and when they don't match them, you don't know what the fuck to do. I'll wear my mask if you wear yours. That's what people do. I'll pretend to be who you need me to be if you'll pretend to be what I need you to be. And when you break this contract by showing up as truly you are, you expose the entire system, and your authenticity becomes the mirror that reveals their inauthenticity. This is why Christ said he came not to bring peace, but a sword, the sword of truth that divides and the real basically from the false, the fake, the unfake. And you know what? Some people will love it. Some people will respond with discomfort, even hostility, and they will try to put you back in the box of their expectations. They may accuse you of changing, of becoming difficult, of losing yourself, when in fact you have found yourself. See, others will be drawn to your light like months, like moss. I don't know why I said months. Like, wait a sec, that's not the word I was wanting to say. But like, you know how moths are attracted to light? Apparently, it's months are attracted to light. But you know how moths are attracted to light and they like go after it. They are gonna sense that in you. You know, they're gonna on permission. They have craving for what you have. The permission to be real too. As you're being real, others begin to do that same thing around you because you've cleared the space. You're making it comfortable. See, here's what's profound is you don't need to preach your awakening. You don't need to convince anyone that you've changed or recruit followers to come and do any of that. Authenticity is just contagious. You know, it's contagious not through words, but through presence. And just when you show up, truly are vulnerable, honest, integrity, in integrated, like wholeness. You basically create this massive field and you bring others in around it. And it's a field of permission around you that the unconscious get to receive permission to be themselves and that it's safe to be real here. They can show their emotions. They can tell the truth of how they're feeling in the moment. This is how awakening spreads, not through doctrines or practices, but through the simple revolutionary act of being yourself. You conclude with the deepest teachings, you realize to simply be is the way to be. And this is Satchitananda, being consciousness, bliss, they call it. Wow, exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you. You're welcome. This is a Taoist Wu Yi, effortless action. This is what the Gnostics, direct knowing. This is what Heger meant by authentic existence. You've discovered what the entire universe has been trying to teach you since birth. You don't need to become anything, just be. You need to only stop pretending to be what you are not. See, the caterpillar thinks the chrysalis is death. The butterfly knows it is birth, and you are not ending, you are beginning. The masks are burning away, and beneath them, the eternal light of your being, which was never created and can never be destroyed, is finally, beautifully, terrifyingly, gloriously visible to see. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to you. See, somatic awareness several times daily. I want you guys to do this and pause and ask, am I performing? When you're out, even take a moment, deep breath, and just say, am I performing right now? Or am I being? And notice your body holds tension related to pretending. It doesn't want to pretend. So, or if you need to go into the restroom and look in the mirror at yourself and practice letting all the masks fall, seeing yourself as complete acceptance, as you would be a newborn baby, innocent, worthy, complete. I encourage you to choose one relationship this week where you'll practice radical honesty. Not brutal honesty, but truth spoken with compassion. Man, when I first started, I was brutal honesty. Holy crap. Don't do that. Just gets you in trouble. And learn to spend time alone, not as loneliness, but as sacred practice of self-compassionate solitude. Learn to enjoy your own presence, become best friends with yourself. Because that's very valuable. And then pay attention. Take a walk in nature and notice that nature doesn't pretend. Notice how they never pretend to be anything other than what nature is. Let nature remind you of your own natural authenticity. And then here's the question to ask yourself. When making any choice, ask not what will others think, but what is true. And let truth be your only master. Remember this, awakening cannot be undone. You cannot unknown what you know now. You cannot re-wear masks that you've recognized as masks. There is only one way forward, deeper into truth, fuller into being, braver into authenticity. See, the universe conspired to wake you up. Trust the process, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Remember, you're becoming real, guys. That's what this is about. Being real. No longer feeding this system. Being our authentic self. And as we do that, that expands to all others. So make sure you do one thing towards your dreams every single freaking day, because it brings you one step closer. Make sure you recognize that you are valuable and you matter, and you're all unique puzzle pieces, a part of the ultimate puzzle of the cosmos. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Please hit those likes and everything else. And make sure you guys have a beautiful day. If you have any comments, please feel free to make them. Outside of that, will you be offering a gathering anytime soon to come to you? Yes. I'm thinking December. Thank you so much for bringing you to us. Have a great day. Yeah, I'm either thinking December or maybe even January. Maybe some of you can, make comments of when you would love to see a retreat happen out in the desert. And keep in mind here, it's warm where I'm at. You get to come if you're in a winterland, you get to come to have some summertime during winter. I follow the sun. I have to. You're welcome, you guys. I want to thank you too for all being a part of this journey, You're my witnesses of my journey. You guys have gone to see it. I mean, I even recorded back in time when I was in hospice and stuff, but we used to be Mum 420 back then. We changed it to Mystical Aerial so we can hit everybody. Do I still 420? 100%. It's my medicine. It's one of the highest vibrating plants, and it's very good and beneficial for getting our bodies aligned. And I was a part of the 1-to-1 ratio CBD and the other one that we won't say on here. We won't get in trouble by YouTube. But anyways, yeah, I'm all about the medical research, development, all that kind of stuff. That's me, medicine. But I felt that this was a better way, because we can talk to all people everywhere, and not everyone is about plant medicine. And it sometimes distracts people from wanting to listen to the deeper truth. That's what I've been thinking maybe the last 2 weeks of December. Something like that. Yeah. We'll figure something out. We just gotta make sure, I guess, for those that do Christmas and stuff, that we don't, you know, get in their way. But anyways, make sure I already did all that. I need to make some coffee. Anyways, you guys, if you missed this and you're just catching the end of it, you can also go over on TikTok at 10 a.m. as well on Shake the Matrix. We will be going live on there as well. Lots of love to you guys as well. Love and peace. We'll see you.